you guys, welcome back to Britpol. I hope you're strapped in because what just leaked from the latest Epstein files regarding Sarah Ferguson has left the palace in a state of absolute unmitigated panic. I am not exaggerating when I say I was literally floored when I saw the actual text of these emails. We aren't just talking about a casual friendship anymore, we're talking about Fergie, in her own words, jokingly, or maybe not so jokingly, asking Jeffrey Epstein to marry her. Can you even imagine a member of the British royal family essentially pitching a marriage proposal to a convicted sex offender? It gets even darker though. There are mentions of great bodies and employment that have the FBI and US Congress breathing down the palace's neck as we speak. This is the kind of stuff they never wanted us to see. But before we dive into the gritty, filter-free details of these 3 million leaked files, and trust me, it's a lot to process, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell right now. You are going to want to be here for every single update on this because the walls are closing in, and honestly, it's getting very, very dark. You ready? Let's get into it. So, this is how it actually happened, and honestly, I was shocked when I heard the specifics. Investigators have been digging through a mountain of data, we're talking 3 million files, and they found this absolute bombshell from September 17th, 2009. Now, can you imagine being a duchess and hitting send on this? Sarah is literally playing matchmaker for Jeffrey Epstein. She tells him about this woman who has, and I quote, a great body, and says he can marry her. But then, and this is the part where I was like, are you for real? She pivots and writes, okay, well, marry me, and then we will employ her. I mean, can you even process that? This isn't some third-party rumor. This is Sarah's own digital footprint. It sounds like a bad joke, but in the context of Epstein's employment history, it's chilling. It paints a picture of a woman who wasn't just aware of Epstein, but was comfortable enough to joke about marriage and hiring great bodies for his inner circle. I was literally floored. How do you even begin to explain that to the palace lawyers? Now, many of us are aware of Andrew's legal woes, but this new dump is a whole different beast. This isn't just one leaked email from a disgruntled employee. Sarah is peppered throughout 3 million files released by the US Department of Justice. 3 million! Can you imagine the sheer panic in the royal offices right now? They aren't just looking for one smoking gun, they're dealing with a digital forest fire that is burning down every defense they've ever built. These files show that Sarah wasn't just a victim of a bad judgment call back in 2011 when she took that £15,000 to pay off her debts. No, these emails, many from as early as 2009, suggest a sustained, cozy relationship where she referred to Epstein as a legend, and even the brother she always wished for. I was shocked when I heard that. A brother? And get this, she was even asking for his business advice on her brand while he was literally serving time. It makes you wonder what else is buried in those 3 million pages that hasn't hit the headlines yet. The palace can't just edit this out. It's out there for the whole world to see, and trust me, the investigators are reading every single word. Now, have you noticed? Sarah Ferguson has completely vanished. I'm not kidding. She hasn't been seen at a single public event since December 2025. It is now March 2026, and the woman who used to never miss a photo op has effectively become a ghost. Can you even imagine the level of hiding out that requires for someone as high profile as her? So, where is she? This is where it gets wild. There are reports that she was basically smuggled out of Royal Lodge in the back of a car, surrounded by Amazon boxes, when she and Andrew were finally booted out in February. Since then, it's like a game of Where's Waldo, but for royals. One minute she's spotted at a $17,000 a night wellness clinic in Zurich, Switzerland to recharge, which honestly sounds like code for hiding from the FBI. And the next, there are rumors she's couch surfing at Priscilla Presley's house in the States or hiding out in the UAE. I was shocked when I heard she was homeless and living out of suitcases, relying on the goodwill of A-list friends just to have a roof over her head. But can you blame her? With these emails out in the open and Andrew literally under arrest at Marsh Farm, the York brand is radioactive. Is she genuinely recuperating at these luxury retreats? Or is the palace palace, keeping her in a deep freeze while they figure out how to stop her from being hauled in for questioning. It feels like the ultimate disappearing act. And honestly, the longer she stays hidden, the more guilty it looks. This is where it gets legally terrifying for her. We aren't just talking about tabloid headlines anymore. We are talking about the United States government. Congressman Suhas Subramanyam, who is a heavy hitter on the House Oversight Committee, has officially gone on the record. He told the BBC, and I was literally floored when I heard this, that Sarah Ferguson needs to consider giving sworn testimony to their committee. Can you even imagine? A member of the British royal family sitting in a cold room in D.C. under oath, answering questions about why she was talking to a monster like Epstein about marriage and great bodies. Subramanyam was very clear. They are happy to work out terms, but she has to be under oath. In other words, if she lies, it's a felony, and he's not the only one. Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury also doubled down, telling the BBC that their responsibility is to follow the facts wherever they lead. It doesn't matter if those facts lead straight into a royal palace. I was like, are you for real? The US government is essentially saying they don't care about royal titles or the firm. They want the truth. If Sarah has information that could help the victims, they are ready to squeeze her for it. The protection of the palace usually feels ironclad, but against a US congressional subpoena, that wall is starting to look very thin. We also have to talk about the heartbreaking weight behind this, because it's not just about old emails and royal embarrassment. It's about a search for justice that has outlived the person who started it. Virginia Giuffre, the woman who was a fierce warrior against Epstein and literally catalyzed Prince Andrew's fall from grace, tragically died by suicide last April. I was honestly devastated when that news broke. She had fought so hard for so long. But even though Virginia is gone, her family is not letting this go. Her brother, Sky Roberts, has stepped up, and he's not holding back. He told Sky News, and I was shocked when I heard the intensity of this, that he strongly believes Sarah Ferguson needs to get on a plane to America immediately. He basically said, if she knows anything, she should testify in the United States now. Can you even imagine the pressure? You have a family in mourning, still reeling from the loss of a sister and a daughter, and they are looking directly at Fergie for answers. In her posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, which just came out, Virginia actually wrote that Andrew's disastrous 2019 interview was the jet fuel they needed to potentially subpoena Sarah and her daughters. It's like Virginia is still fighting from beyond the grave. Her family is making it very clear. The one-year gag order from the settlement is over. Virginia is gone. And now it's time for the people who joked with Epstein to finally face the music. It's a heavy, heavy situation, and for the Yorks, the silence is becoming deafening. In the context of what we now know about the Epstein mansion, the massage schedules, the non-disclosure agreements, the house managers, the word employ takes on a terrifyingly dark meaning. It sounds less like a royal duchess and more like she was auditioning for a role in his inner circle. And get this, analysts are now looking at whether this employment talk was a way for Sarah to funnel people into Epstein's world in exchange for the financial lifelines he was giving her. We know he helped her with her debts, but was this the price? Was she literally scouting for him? It's a filter-free, sickening thought, but when you see it in her own handwriting, it's hard to ignore. The great body comment isn't just a cringy joke, it's a massive red flag that the US investigators are going to use to pin her down. They want to know, who was this woman, and did she ever actually end up employed by the monster of Manhattan? Now, this is where British media and US lawmakers officially collided, and honestly, the fallout has been massive. I was watching the BBC coverage of this, and seeing a US Congresswoman like Melanie Stansbury speaking directly to the British public was just surreal. Can you imagine being a royal aide and watching the BBC at breakfast, only to see Stansbury telling the world that if Sarah Ferguson or any member of their family has such information, our responsibility is to follow the facts wherever they lead. I was like, are you for real? That is basically a public warning shot fired from Washington, D.C. directly at the gates of Windsor. And get this, the tone of the BBC report wasn't defensive, it was analytical. They were highlighting that while there's no current legal mechanism to force her to fly to America, the political pressure is becoming a total vice. Stansbury made it clear that the US government doesn't view the Yorks as untouchable royals anymore. They view them as potential witnesses in a global sex trafficking investigation. I was shocked when I heard the BBC anchor pushing the question of whether the UK government would intervene to protect her. The answer? A cold, hard silence. It feels like the era of protecting Fergie is officially over.